ladies and gentlemen, and being a producer of Wrestle Massacre as well as Inside Movies Galore, I am David Streggy, and welcome to Delusions of Grandeur. Enjoy the reviews. I certainly did.
Okay, Dave, that's it. Screw you and your college flunkies. I've had enough of this from you and from everyone else. I know what you guys are trying to do. Break me down, drive me out of the force. Well, it's going to take a hell of a lot more than a lame prank like this to get Curtis Mooney to throw in his badge, so fuck you. Over.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I'm your host, David Streggy, and here I have another review for you. This is the second film in the thrown together volume of 3 films under American Horror Project put out by Arrow. I'm just going to stick these back into their box and show you this box set. So American Horror Project was put out by Cinema Obscurist reviewer by the name of Stephen Thrower. But the film that I'm going to go on about, which is the second film in this series, is called The Witch Who Came from the Sea. And apparently that cover art right there, where it's of a witch beheading someone, that actually comes from a horror comic from 1971 of Vampirella's, evidently number 11. So, but the film is directed by Matt Cimbers. Believe that is his name, Matt Cimbers. And it was filmed in 1976. It was written by Tom or Thom. Trying to think. It was written by Robert Thom, who was apparently married to the lead actress in here, who was played by Millie Perkins, and she plays a woman by the name of Molly. And Millie Perkins had made herself known as a young actress who played Anne Frank in The Diary of Anne Frank. But in here she plays a disturbed woman who is haunted by the molestations of her sea captain father. But in the very beginning here we have her talking to her sister's children, Tad and Triple A. And she goes and romanticizes about her father to her niece and nephew. But ultimately, she ends up having to depart for her shift at local seaside bar or tavern, um, which is manned by the name of a man called Long John. Uh, I like that reference because it's kind of a Treasure Island name. But apparently, um, Robert Baum um, wrote this character of Molly after, Millie Perkins' own father, because evidently he was a sea captain. Uh, but in any case, how Molly deals with her sexual frustrations is um, another story. So apparently, Molly is obsessed with television, and she sees this razor, this guy who's um, on a commercial for razors, and she becomes obsessed with him throughout the film a little bit, and she ends up meeting like these two famous football players, um, and she has a very dirty threesome, almost sadistic in nature, because she ties them both to the bed. She gets them drunk, and then she proceeds to castrate them with a straight razor before killing them initially. And she's 3 hours late to her shift, which Long John uh, says something to her about it, but he is reluctant to let her go because the bar is short staffed. Um, Later, she actually ends up meeting an aging television star by the name of Billy Blatt, and the two end up discussing a print of a picture, evidently on the wall, called "The Birth of Venus." And they end up going into a room in the back, or upstairs, or not exactly sure where entirely, but I think it was upstairs or whatnot. But they go in, start to have sex, but Molly becomes agitated and upset. And, she starts to go a little mad, and she breaks his wrists, ranting about her father, saying something to the effect that uh, he died for love, and they end up fighting. And the fighting escalates. It's overheard by the guests in the bar down below, and Billy, the television star, ends up throwing Molly out of the room onto the ground, and he knocks her unconscious. And evidently unaware of what occurred, Long John and the people that were down there partying, because it's a bar, it's a lively night, and a lot of people are there. Um, they all accuse Billy of abusing her, and Molly ends up having no recollection of the incident when she wakes up, not knowing exactly what she did. Um, Ultimately, Molly ends up going and seeing Jack Dracula, who is a tattoo artist, who scared the kids earlier. And He gives her a tattoo of a mermaid on her abdomen, which, uh, if you see in flashbacks with her childhood with the father, turns out that there is a mermaid on her father's chest. So I was getting a feeling of this film that, in a sense, in a way, she's like a mermaid on land in a sense, and she's going after these men because in legends old of pirate legends, mermaids would actually be more like sirens, and they would end up calling men to the sea, and take them down with them to the bottom of the sea, and stuff like that. So I'm thinking more along the lines of like a psychotic woman, who's kind of like a Black Widow, um, more or less in the character of Molly. But this film, it it's more like a dream-like sequence. You know, as you're going through um, the emotions of seeing her kill these personalities, and and the men that she does go after, they end up being like people like in the spotlight and whatnot, and what what really intrigued me about this film was the cinematography behind it. It was done by Dean Cundy, who evidently also worked with Steven Spielberg. He worked with John Carpenter on Halloween, um, so on and so forth. So there were some interesting camera techniques that were used in this film. I believe that there was the certain kind of film was more wider in panorama, um, and on the Arrow disc, there is a behind the scenes documentary that has Millie Perkins on there talking about the film. I believe the director was talking on there. I believe that it's an actually decent behind the scenes um, thing. It was real interesting. But evidently, ultimately, um, we find out that um, Molly's father um, died of a heart attack while raping her, and evidently, Molly blames her self for his death, and in a sense, this film it has almost melodic um, tone to it. Its violence is, I guess, being one of the 72 films banned in the UK for the castration part. I guess that's not unsurprising because at the time, nothing like this had actually been filmed, and there was outrage, evidently, of putting subject matter like this on or to film. And I guess finally in 2006, the film was ultimately released from the ban in UK, so that people could see it fully in its entirety, uncut, per se. I guess there was a violence to this film that the public couldn't handle at the time. So I thought it was I I guess in a sense this film is kind of growing on me because even though I didn't myself in childhood experience any you know sexual molestations or anything like that my father um, himself was abusive, and I uh, the attitude of the sister, where she doesn't believe that uh, their father did anything to her sister. That kind of reminds me of my mom turning a blind eye to what my father did myself. And I still have uh, problems of my own that I have to deal with. So that being said, I think that that's why this film has begun to grow on me after the second time that I've viewed this. So I guess I can relate to some of what the um, character Molly has gone through. Of course, I would never go about and kill people like she did to take out her transgressions or anything like that. But I would, I definitely see exactly what she was somewhat thinking. In any case, as far as um, the um, special effects, I really enjoyed the. Um, I think that the director was really good at pulling the camera away at the exact moment when you think that you're going to see it all happen. I mean, it's all about how you get the audience to believe that you're actually killing someone when in fact the camera is actually pulling away at the exact moment when you think you'll see Nards get cut off or something like that. It's a touchy subject, and to be able to pull that off on camera is absolutely fantastic. I mean, especially in uh, well, I know that a lot of people for many years thought that this was a horror film, where in fact this is more of a psychological drama, and it was acted actually fairly well to me. I didn't really see a problem in any of the acting involved in this film, and I guess I could say that I'm fond of the music involved in here, even though you could hear it over and over and over. Uh, um, or something like that. I, I mean, in a sense, you could almost play it in your head. It's the flute music that would beckon soldiers or sailors to come from the sea. So I certainly enjoyed this film. I believe it was actually stronger than the Malatesta Carnival of Blood film. I actually feel like this one was the more important one so far. That doesn't really get a lot of notice per se, or maybe it doesn't. But it was definitely intriguing, and I certainly enjoyed the production value of it. So, in any case, hopefully you enjoyed my description of this film. like and subscribe to my page if you have not. Definitely check the film out on your own. Like I said, it's on this. When I picked this up, it was actually the UK. As you can see, that little 18 down there. That means it was the UK set. But the UK set actually says that it's all region. It's got the ABC C down there. But one thing that I wanted to say is that this has both Blu-ray and DVD on it, whereas the Volume 2 of the American version has just the Blu-ray on each. So that is the difference between the two, and eventually I'll get around to going on about some of the others too. So in any case, I like the feel and tone of this film, and I hope that anyone out there who has not seen the film at least goes and sees it. Now, I could see how it is fairly slow in spots. It could put some people to sleep in some areas because it is a drama. But I think if you take it in as a whole, it's almost a dreamlike sequence, like I said. It, what? Um, yeah, I think I'm good on this one. I wouldn't say I'm not necessarily. I liked it. I liked it. It wasn't that it was a grand film. It wasn't that it was a great film, but it definitely should not be go unseen. So go out and see it, and let me know what you think down in the comments. Thank you so much, and thanks for listening. I'll definitely have some more cool stuff coming out eventually.
And now, time for TV's favorite game show, Beat the Time.